Alrighty, let's get this started. I don't know where Andrew is. I'm gonna text him here in a moment to figure out where he's at. But if I can't get a hold of him, then tell you the truth, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do because I don't really have anything planned. We were just gonna kind of make fun of Andrew for the Celtics losing. So if he doesn't pop in, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. But I guess we'll figure it out. The hell?
My garage. It's me, ChicagoMuse, aka Taegen, and I'm here to join the Bone Knowers podcast.
How the hell did you get in here?
It's easy. Kidnapped. Kidnapped your wife.
Kidnap my who?
Um, I probably shouldn't be admitting crime on a podcast, but yeah, I kidnapped your wife.
Well, you know what? Good
And
for
the only
me. Good for me for fucking
yeah,
bagging someone then. This is news
hey,
to me.
hey, the only way you can get her back is if we talk about some stuff for a good while.
Okay. Okay, I think I can agree to those terms. I gotta meet this wife I've never met before, so I'm down. What did you have
Wait,
in
then
mind?
who's? Oh, what did I have in mind exactly?
Yeah.
Well, since you're seemingly a Bears fan,
Yeah.
let's talk Bears.
Okay, I would assume you are as well, given the Valus Jones profile picture.
Oh, yes, I am very much the number one Valus Jones stan on Twitter.com.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Respectable.
Too small. I'd like to call him too big because that guy could probably run me over, and I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. NFL athletes are scary, man. Trust me. I've met
Yeah.
one before.
Who did you meet?
Um, I wanted to bring this up later on for my
Oh, then you
other
can. We can hold on. We
topics,
can wait. We can wait. We can wait.
right?
If you had it
But
planned
that's
out, we can wait.
yeah. Hey,
Okay.
but yeah, this is the Ball Knowers podcast. I don't know why I'm saying it. You're the one that should be hosting it right now.
Listen, you
But
completely hijacked the show. You do the intro. You do all the work. I'm just here to make sure I don't die.
uh, oh right, my bad. Well then, this is the Ball Knowers podcast with host David Miller.
Yeah.
Last time I
Yeah.
checked.
You're right.
Unfortunately, his co-host couldn't make it because I've kidnapped him too. That's why he's been so busy lately. Is because he's trying to escape the basement that I put him in. But that's not going to be for a while. After all, Celtics fans don't deserve rights.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Ooh.
Apart from him,
Anywho,
he's valid, but the rest of them, you're not wrong.
yeah. So let's talk Bears. Yeah. Right now, there's not really much to talk about since, OTAs got recently over, but I feel like there's enough to really get a topic going, and I personally think that right now the Bears are going to be very much underrated next year. I feel like a lot of people undervalue them because, they've gotten worse, when in actuality, their team last year wasn't horrendous. It was just mediocre.
Okay.
It's just
I can
that
get
you have a
behind that.
head coach. You have a head coach on there who didn't know how to call plays, and you had a defense that was still top 10 in the NFL. So I think even then, with all the moves that you got, and you have to take in mind, we were out Khalil Mack like for most of the year last year. So yeah, I think firmly that they could easily go 8-9, maybe 7-10. But that just all depends on how the schedule rolls out.
I I think. I mean, I like the optimism. I'm not gonna lie to you, but personally, I don't see them winning more than like 5 or 6 games. I really don't. I do agree that the media is kind of underselling everything happening, but I don't think it's because there was an influx of talent. I think it's because they're not taking into account how little Ryan Poles had to work with. Like, yeah, Chicago on paper probably could have hypothetically done more for Fields, but we didn't have the cap space to do it, and we weren't a desirable destination, so it's not like we were ever going to win a bidding war if we couldn't outbid, or we were never going to win a bidding war if we couldn't outbid somebody. right? And we just didn't have the cap space to do so. And then when you get to the draft, the only receivers we really could have taken are like George Pickens, who is a walking red flag, or I don't know, Alec Pierce, who has his own concerns, even though I'm a big fan of his. I
Hey,
feel
hey,
like
hey.
no, I'm not saying anything negative about Valus. I actually liked that pick. I was a big fan.
Yeah. I
But
was hoping they were to get Alex Pierce, but go on.
yeah, I liked Alex Pierce as well. But Valus is a nice consolation prize, especially given the idea that Fields told Poles that he wanted him personally. So, it's good that they're taking Fields' input and then going defense early in the draft. People have been upset about that. I think that was a great idea. You take the best guys available that are at positions of need because we were down bad at corner and safety. So getting Kyler and Jaquan were great picks. And then all the offensive linemen they took later on in the draft, which are already apparently making noise. Braxton Jones has been a big name that everyone is obsessed with. Apparently, he's really been impressing and getting a lot of first team reps, which is interesting. So I think the Bears did better than people are giving them credit for in the sense of being underrated, but I don't think they're going to have a great year or anything like that. I think that might be a little far. Like even going right around 500, I think might be too big of an expectation for them, which is fine because they're rebuilding. That's exactly what's going on, especially if we end up trading Robert Quinn, which seems very likely. I I just don't see it happening.
Well, for me, I feel like our safety, yeah, with Tashawn Gibson most likely not returning.
Hmm.
I feel like yeah, safety was a little bit of a need. I'm so on the boat that maybe if you didn't like the prospects that you had, you could still bring back Gibson for another year, who's still probably the most solid Chicago Bear signing
Yeah,
because he's done his job. He's done well. I don't think he's never really done a horrible job compared to most safeties that they gotten. Flashbacks to a certain white wide receiver that couldn't cover Aaron Rodgers' wide receiver. That won't be brought up because his last name should be a sin throughout the entire land. And
valid.
to add on a little bit more salt on the wound, getting absolutely stiffed armed by Vance McDonald. But the point
I
is,
forgot that
he
even
didn't.
happened.
Yeah, the point is, he played solid.
Hmm.
I feel like Robert Quinn, you kind of have to trade him because with how your roster is right now, like he's not going to be a player that's going to stay there for like 2, 3 more years.
No.
He's a player that is going to want to compete for a Super Bowl team, which is why I've always had the thought of why not possibly trade Robert Quinn to a team maybe like the Dolphins who are trying to push for a Super Bowl. He's played in that scheme before. He's played in that defense, and he's played there before. So it's not like he would necessarily lose. It's not like he would be learning a new playbook and everything. He would still mostly know what all goes on.
Hmm. I don't think scheme fit is something you really have to worry about with Robert Quinn. Like, I get what you're saying, but he's been in the league so long. He's been around the block. He knows how to learn a defense. He's been I don't want to call him a journeyman, but he's been to a couple different teams, been in a couple different situations. He's played in a 3-4. He's played in a 4-3. He's done it all. So I'm not like, yeah, I think Miami would be a good spot for him because they definitely need the edge help. If Miami wants to trade for him, by all means. But I wouldn't think that a scheme fit would necessarily have to play a big part in it.
Fair enough, but it's also like relativity too, because like you're more likely going to see players going back to their old starving grounds than go to someplace new.
Yeah,
Like after
sure,
all,
sure, sure.
you,
I can get
yeah.
behind that.
But yeah, I do think that the Bears will be underrated this season, and I did say a hot take a while ago. I do think the Bears go 8-9 and somehow make the playoffs with how weak the NFC is. And that's a hot take that I know everyone's going to look at me and be like, this guy is insane. Who does he think he is? But when you look at the schedule, there are 8 or 9 easily winnable games. You got to play the Lions twice, then you got the Jets, and then you got the Falcons. Right there, those are easily winnable games. And then you got people like Houston who are still rebuilding, and then the Bears and Vikings always usually split a game between each other, and you can easily upset the Patriots or the Eagles because they always have games each year where both those teams play drastically down to the competition and lose to teams that they should have just straight up washed.
Fair enough.
I also am a firm believer that the Dolphins aren't that good, despite what everyone says. Again, hot take central, but adding Tyreek Hill doesn't help if your quarterback still can't throw.
Yeah, Tyreek's not going to be able to be utilized as a deep threat, but God, what's it? Mike McDaniel's the new head coach. He's a smart guy. He can figure out ways to scheme Tyreek short and let him kind of use his after the catch ability and whatnot. But you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Tua is not doing Tyreek any favors. Absolutely. And I do want to say, I think you're underselling the Jets and the Lions a little bit. And maybe that's just because I'm pretty high on both teams. I wouldn't call either of those teams a given right now. If Zach Wilson can string together a solid season, the Jets are going to be better than Chicago because their offense is marginally better across the board. Their defense arguably might be more complete. I don't know if there's more talent there. We'll have to see. And Detroit, kind of the same thing, but reverse. Their defense is definitely better right now, and their offense has the pieces to be better. They're winnable football games if they don't meet expectations, but I don't know how likely that is. But Houston, Atlanta, absolutely winnable games. And then teams like Philly and the Commanders could play down to competition and end up getting beat. Chicago, I mean, there's a path, I suppose, for them to win 8 or 9 games, like you said, but I don't see it being too likely. But I hope you're right.
You always
I'd
have
love
to,
to be wrong.
yep, right. But you always have to keep in mind every year the Bears are so inconsistent when as a team. Like people in 2016 still thought the Bears are going to at least be all right. They went 13-3, and then when the Bears traded for Khalil Mack, they're like, oh, maybe they'll be 8-8, 9-7, barely, just barely missed the playoffs. But then they went 12-4.
Yeah,
You never know what you're going to get each season with the Bears. Like people thought in 2019 they were going to go 13-3, went 8-8. Now people thought in 2020 they were going to go 3-13, go 8-8.
yeah, that's fair,
So
I suppose. I can see that.
and again, it's all hypothetical and such, but like you you just don't know what you're getting with the Bears. I've always called them the mystery box team because either you're getting the hard-nosed defense, the ram through you offense, or you're getting the Care Bear offense and the what brings up old scars. Let's go with the 2013 Bears. You know, the one that was horrendously horrible and the offense was generational.
I don't know if I'd call it generational, but it was definitely better than a usual Chicago offense. So sure, we'll go with that. I think the big issue with Chicago's defense lately, like you mentioned, they were a top 10 unit. I don't know if they were statistically, but they sure as hell didn't look like a top 10 unit on the field. And it's just because I feel like it's been a very low effort defense since 2018. Like Vic Fangio brought out something in that team. And once Vic was gone and it was Chuck Pagano and then it was Sean Desai, which I like Sean Desai. I'm very happy he went to Seattle and he's got a big role there. But when it was the two of them, the defense just didn't feel the same. And it was because you have guys like Eddie Jackson who were just kind of loafing around out there. Khalil Mack was taking a lot of plays off. Like there were some games where it legitimately felt like it was Roquan Smith trying to do everything and everyone else just kind of going through the motions. And that's never going to happen under Matt Eberflus because he will bench somebody if it happens. It doesn't matter who you are. Roquan Smith, if he plays this year, could walk out there week 1 and start loafing around. He's benching him for the next 3 weeks. Like he's not putting up with that shit. And that's going to be a big difference maker for Chicago's defense. So maybe it'll be better than I'm expecting it to be just based off that. Also, Eberflus has never had a bottom half defense. They've always finished at least right around the middle, if not closer to the top 10. So maybe he can figure that out as well, and maybe the defense can kind of carry us, take a lot of the pressure off Fields, which would make the two picks of Brisker and Gordon look a lot better, because that was something I was preaching right after the draft and people were calling me crazy for, is that building up your defense helps a young quarterback a lot more than people want to pretend it does. So I would love that. That would be great
Yeah.
if the defense was
Yeah.
the reason for success this year.
I mean, that isn't that every year though? Like
Yeah.
every single year, it's not like, oh, it's either, oh, hopefully the quarterback does well, or oh, hopefully the defense just goes off and
Yeah.
wins, because it's like that every year. You never see someone be like, you know what, that Chicago offense is pretty scary.
Well,
They go, that Chicago Bear defense might probably rip my skull out of my head. So
yeah, it Fields is going to change that. I really think he will. I'm very confident that'll happen. It won't happen this year. I don't think Fields is going to be that guy this year, but he's going to show enough improvement to where it's like, okay, you have $100 million in cap room in 2023. You have a first round pick, and if they finish with 5 wins like I expect, it'll be a top 10 pick. You can go out, build up that offense, sign one of these receivers that hates their team currently and wants a new contract because they'll probably be a free agent. Sign a guy like that, help Justin Fields out, use whatever money you need to bulk up the offensive line, fix up the defense. You got the entire draft to do stuff. I know next year's draft, I haven't done a whole lot of homework on it, but from what I understand, is supposed to blow this most recent draft class out of the water talent wise. So a top 10 pick each round would be huge. So they're in a good position for their rebuild if guys like key guys can show improvement this year, namely Fields, honestly, but other guys too, like Komet and Mooney and some of the rookies, the younger guys on defense, like oh my god, my brain just broke, like Jalen Johnson. I forgot his name for a moment. Dear God. But if guys can show growth, 2023 could be scary for Chicago, or scary for the league because of Chicago.
yeah, I agree. Oh, one moment. Hey. Sorry, the kidnap victims were starting to whine again.
You mean my wife and
Thank.
my co-host?
Yeah. They are actually, no. Your co-host is still sobbing on the floor.
That sounds a
Something
lot
about
more like
warriors
him.
and something like Warriors and Six, something like that. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's time to change topics, because if I don't, they'll probably get very mad again.
Okay.
Okay, that should calm them down. Anywho, now, second topic. If you don't know, I'm very much a music guy. I enjoy a lot of music. And some of my favorite artists are Weezer, Kanye West, and Coldplay, Tyler the Creator. A lot of very I wouldn't say soft rock, but like alternative rock and just very heavy rap. So I feel like we should take this to kind of pause the Bears discussion, since you tend to always do something different other than sports each
Right.
time in your
Right.
podcast,
Right.
and then go on about music a little bit.
Okay.
So we could just ask each other a couple of takes that we have, and I'll start with you. What is your personal opinion on the grunge era of music?
What is my personal opinion on grunge? I don't know. I don't have one. Like it. I don't have any complaints about it. Grunge is cool. I like Nirvana. Nirvana's pretty rad. What was the Batman song? Something in the Way. That's constantly on loop in my brain because I love Batman. So the grunge era gave me that, which then led to that song being in the Batman. So it's a W. Absolute W. That's my opinion on the grunge wave, so to speak.
All right, you got anything for me now?
Yeah. How do you feel about Drake?
Oh my God, a walking red flag is all I'm gonna say. That dude cannot release a good album to save his life. He had two really great albums at the beginning of his career. I will not take that away from him. And then he had the mixtape that was also really good. But the dude dropped a dump in the middle of the night, and I was just listening to 21 Savage on Spotify, and then I see that on Twitter, and I'm like, why? So you don't even hype up your release so you can get more money, and you drop the most like out of nowhere album in the middle of the night while everyone is just like about to go to bed, and then you keep us up a little bit longer with that, and I'm just like, whatever.
I didn't even listen to that album. I was too busy listening to Logic. I'm going to be 100%
You like
honest.
Logic?
I love Logic.
Okay, Logic is all right. I'm not taking away. He has some bangers. I really do like uh Everybody. I do like his Wu-Tang
Yeah.
song. I forget that one. What it's called.
Oh my god, I forget the name of it too. I was just listening to it. Wu-Tang
Yeah.
Forever.
That's
It's Wu-Tang Forever. I think.
yeah.
I think it's named after the
But
album.
something like that. And then I also really do actually the first song I listened to by him was the Suicide one. It's the
Yeah.
Suicide Hotline number. That's what I always call
Yeah.
it. I feel like that was a really good song, especially when mental health was being
Yeah.
starting to value more. But yeah. Well
I'm
then,
I'm not like diehard into Logic or anything. I just wanted to listen to his new album because I didn't feel like listening to Drake. So I made the right
okay.
decision apparently, from what I understand.
All right. Well then, my other question is, which is the best Weezer song and which is the best Weezer album?
I don't know the names of their albums. If I'm being 100%, what's
The
the
names of their albums are all Weezer. Most of them are.
Oh, okay. Well, then I really like Weezer. That was a really good album.
Oh, yeah,
I gotta
I
go with
love the
Weezer.
Weezer one. The one
Um,
where they sang the one, yeah.
the one where
But what is your
they
favorite
sing.
Weezer song
Hold
then?
on, the one where they sing nerdy lyrics and have very loud instrumentals. That's a pretty good album. But God, my favorite song. Can am I allowed to go with a cover? Or does it have to be an original?
It can be a cover.
I really
Trust
like
me,
their cover of Africa. I love it.
I feel like that one's pretty popular, mainly
Yeah.
just because it's one of the few Weezer songs to take radio.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a really good cover.
Yeah.
I will admit that.
If I'll
Um,
give you an original song though, and admittedly, I'm not diehard into Weezer. I don't know all of their music. I know a very very finite amount. Um, I I guess I just go with Buddy Holly. I don't know.
hey, Buddy
It's a
Holly's
good
always a
song.
solid
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
I don't look like Buddy Holly, but you are just like Mary Tyler Moore. I will
Interesting.
say
Okay,
that. Okay.
I'll take it.
Um, but yeah, anything else?
I don't know. How do you feel about musicals?
Musicals, I don't know. I'm assuming you're bringing this up because of what the Joker's doing. For me,
No, I'm
musicals.
bringing it up because I'm a theater kid and I love musicals.
Oh, I see.
I
Oh,
forgot about that though.
you're
Yeah,
one of
that.
those people.
Yeah, I am one of
Yeah.
those people.
But yeah, I mean, musicals. Everyone has their taste and such,
Yeah,
and if you like musicals, that's cool for you.
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't want to watch Hamilton.
yeah. That's fine.
That's just not
No,
enjoyable
listen.
for me. I don't want to.
Musicals are fucking weird. I don't expect everybody to like them.
The
I'm
only
weird and
the only
enjoy them.
musical song that I like is from the Lorax, and that's the Once They're Stupid.
How bad can
Um,
I be?
yeah, it's
It
look, it's
does.
catchy.
It goes
It
unnecessarily hard. It really
yeah,
does.
but yeah. Um, what are your thoughts on Kanye?
I love Kanye. I absolutely love
Okay,
Kanye. He needs
okay.
help.
I
Somebody needs
might
to
let
help that man right now. But I love his
I
music.
I might release your wife from the basement because of that statement, but yes, if you had to pick your favorite album from his,
Graduation.
what would it be?
Graduation without a doubt.
Graduation.
Yup.
That's
I get
a
a
pretty hot
ton of
take.
shit for that, but I love graduation.
Graduation has some of the it has flashing lights, it has power, it has I wonder. Yeah, it has some. Right now it's kind of hard for me to say. If we're talking about like overall, if I can listen from front to back without skipping, it's probably yay.
Fair
However,
enough.
if we're talking like all time, it right now I've really been vibing to The Life of Pablo and Yeezus.
I love Yeezus. I'm not a big fan of
Ye-
Pablo, but I love Yeezus.
Dude, I can listen to some Yeezus, but I will say this: the worst song on Yeezus is the worst Kanye and Kid Cudi collab.
Which song is that?
Guilt Trip. Guilt Trip is the
Oh,
worst.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
I
I
know.
I
I know
feel you.
everyone says My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is their favorite and such.
Overrated.
Honestly, yeah. Like it's really good, but like greatest rap album of all time?
No.
No. Like it has some really good songs. Power, Dark Fantasy, Hell of a Life, Up Lost in the World.
Yeah.
Great songs. Like those are like top 10 Kanye songs. But to then you get to songs like Devil in a New Dress. I'm going to say this, Devil in a New Dress is one of the worst and most overrated Kanye songs out there.
Damn. It's another hot take from you.
Yeah.
I think the
And
thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say. I think the thing with "Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy," it's a great album. I'm not trying to say it's not a great album, and it's probably Kanye's best work, like art wise. Like musically, the
Yeah.
things that happen on that album aren't comparable to literally anything else he's ever done. Like, what is it? Runaway that starts with the piano, and it's just like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
Like
forgot to mention that
that
Runaway.
song is
Great. Just watch
beautiful,
the
but the issue is
app.
I that song, it's an art piece, but I couldn't listen to it front to back because it drags on so much. Like you'll be
I
listening to a song
disagree.
from that, well, the way I look at it is you'll be listening to a song from that album and you'll be like, "Oh man, this is really good." And then like 10 minutes later it's still going. And you're like, "Okay, I've had enough." Like that's just me personally. And I definitely think anyone that's saying it's the best rap album of all time is off their rocker. That is insane. People talk to me personally.
Yeah. And like I understand why people view it as their favorite Kanye album.
Yeah.
And I do understand the story and everything behind it. Like Kanye was just trying to become someone that he can be proud of again.
Hmm.
Or like if someone was like, "You know what? I may be a terrible person, I may be this, but I made something good enough to have even my most biggest person who hates me respect something I made." And
Right.
I really do think that's a cool way of thinking about it, motivating yourself to just not even to make something great, but just to make something so that you can just become, I don't want to say yourself, but more or less like become respected again.
Hmm.
But I do agree that people who think that it's his best album have their points because yeah, every song on there could be a banger. It has potential. However, I just don't agree. I can listen to Yeezus front to back every single time. I, if I've always said this, if you take out Guilt Trip, you have a 10 out of 10 album.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I feel like if you actually take I feel like if you actually take uh party parties in LA from
No more parties
The
in
Life of
LA.
Pablo.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more parties in LA. Put that in Yeezus, you have 10 out of 10 album.
Yeah. I can get behind
Perfect.
that.
Yeah, because they were working on it during My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, actually.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
But it's just I don't know. I do really respect Kanye though. I feel like regardless, even if he produces a Drake, which is just flop after flop after flop, I feel like he's done enough to be considered like one of the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kanye's a
Which
genius. He's an absolute genius.
he's insane, but name one genius
Exactly.
who isn't crazy.
Exactly. Every single one has something wrong with them. Kanye's just a little more open about it and vocal about it.
Yeah.
Like the man's been telling us for years he's bipolar. I don't know why we're all shocked that he's doing what he's doing currently.
And I feel like even though it's kind of hard to say, you can justify his actions per se, and some people can forgive him. I still don't think what he's doing with Pete Davidson is kind of right, because regardless or not, that's just straight harassment.
Well, it's going both ways. You know, I mean Kanye
And
started it, but it's going both ways at this point. So you
yeah,
can't really excuse either of them. It's just two grown men acting like children. Like Pete getting Kanye's kids' names, initials, or whatever tattooed on his neck. You don't do that. You
yeah,
don't do
uh,
that.
yeah. But that's just my main opinion on Kanye.
Fair enough.
Is there anyone that you want to know my opinion on?
Um, I don't know how do you feel about Eminem? He's pretty controversial nowadays.
Uh, I'm I was Eminem was originally my goat, my greatest rapper of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I will sit here and say, as I the first album I listened to front to back was Music to Be Murdered By, and I feel like that is heavily scrutinized.
Yeah, it's a good
Like
album. It's I don't care what
side
anyone says.
side B side B I can kind of understand, but you
I like
have
side B.
Godzilla, you have Marsh,
Yeah, Marsh is
you
good.
have you also have uh Little Engine.
Was Lock It Up side A or side B? That was my favorite song off that album.
Lock It Up, I think that was side A.
Okay, because
I
Anderson
still
.Paak on that song is incredible.
oh
I
yeah,
love
that
that
was side
song.
A. That was side A.
Okay, yeah.
I yeah. I still think I still think he gets heavily scrutinized. And like look, the reason why he sells the most is because he's a white rapper, because people are like that. They're more likely to be drawn towards that. And sale wise, yeah, he's the greatest, but of course Kanye took that over, but like he's still up there. Like for someone to be able to go into that scene and remain relevant after almost 2 decades, yeah, I'd say he's one of the greatest.
I think the idea of him only selling a lot because he's a white rapper is kind of a wash take. Like, if he put out two albums and then everyone was like, okay, the gimmick's over, we don't care anymore, then sure. But he's been consistently one of the top selling artists over the past 20 years, like you said. If he was only selling because he's white, that would have stopped. He would not still be relevant 20 years ago or 20 years after the fact. He would have fallen off after the second album and he wouldn't have picked steam back up. Eminem is one of the greatest of all time because he's one of the wittiest lyricists to ever live. His beats are always incredible and he makes a lot of those himself. His flows are insane. He's able to fast rap and not sound like an idiot when he's doing it. He's one of the best rappers of all time, and if you don't agree, I think it's kind of goofy. I'm
Uh,
not saying you
uh,
specifically, but it's like a general concept.
right. I think he's one of the greatest. I don't
Hmm.
feel like he's the
I don't
greatest.
think he is either. I don't think anyone's ever been better than Tupac personally. I'm very much an old
Oh,
head when it comes to rap.
Tupac's greatest lyricist of all time. Not a big fan of his work. I'm more of a Biggie guy.
Fair enough. I mean, Biggie's more fun. Like Tupac's music was all
Biggie has
based
the
around.
bangers.
Yeah, exactly. Tupac was the poet. He wanted to send a message. He wanted to change the world. Biggie was just a big fat dude trying to have a good time. Two completely
Yeah.
different vibes. And I mean, I understand putting one over the other. I would say for me personally, it's those two, then it's Eminem, then it's Jay-Z, and then after that, it could be like 15 different people.
Never was Jay-Z guy. Never was Jay-Z guy.
I hear
If
that a
you're
lot.
talking
I don't know. I like Jay-Z a lot.
if we're talking like top or like Mount Rushmore, Kanye, Eminem, uh, Biggie, and a kind of out there take, but I'm also gonna say Snoop, mainly
Okay.
because Dr. Dre is more of a producer than he is a rapper.
Hmm.
If we're talking all-time producers, Kanye, Eminem, Dre.
Right.
those top three. And you can interchange them as much as you want. But those are top three.
Yeah, that's fair. If I were to do my Mount Rushmore, it's kind of hard because like it would be Biggie, Tupac, Eminem for sure. But then that fourth spot, I want to get Wu Tang in there somehow because they're the greatest rap group of all time. But I don't know whether I want to go with Method Man, who was like the face of the music, or RZA or Jizza, who were like behind the scenes doing everything and are actually like the masterminds behind it. So I guess I would go with I guess the best representation would be RZA, who I would put as the fourth. But he would
RZA's
be
been more
this
common.
right, but he would be the stand-in for Wu Tang as a whole. Like that's why he would be in there, not because of his work, but he's the stand-in for the entirety of Wu Tang. Because if you're talking top rappers all time, Wu Tang has to be in the conversation.
Yeah. Tupac is actually my father's favorite rapper.
He's my mom's favorite.
My my mom's favorite, I don't exactly remember, but I want to say it's Eminem. I don't quite remember,
Valid mother.
but yeah, but yeah. Yeah, my stepfather's not a huge fan of Kanye, but he does like Through the Wire.
As he should. Through the Wire's a
Yeah,
classic.
yeah. But I think now it's time to get to our main event because they're starting to get a little bit rowdy right now, and I don't know how much longer till the cops come here.
Of course, right.
So I I've sent you a little list before I kidnapped him, just because it was all hypothetical and such.
Right.
And we decided to do 3 lists. We decided to go with player names, and then our just favorite bears of all time, and then our favorite bear nicknames of all time.
Okay. We were only supposed to do Bears players for the last name thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because if you come at me with some names that I wasn't able to put on this list because I thought it was just Bears players, I was going to throw hands because this shit was hard.
Oh, trust. Oh,
Finding
trust
funny
me.
last
I
names
have
was
a.
hard.
No, trust me. The last names are great.
Okay. Well, you want to start there?
Yeah. And I'll start. We'll go one by one.
Okay.
Um. My list is in no particular order.
Mine are all in
However,
order, so.
that's fine. For my first pick, I have a classic, a very a very beloved bear among many people, and that's Ben Broniker.
Ben
One of the
Broniker.
Ben Broniker, one of the greatest last names of a Bears player. It just screams backup tight end on the Chicago Bears. It screams it and preaches it to the high heavens.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it better too because a guy from Broniker is from Harvard. So you're getting scored on by a guy who has a higher IQ than you and
Harvard
just
grad Ben
letting
Broniker.
it hang.
I forgot he existed. I loved Ben Broniker.
Yeah. Too bad. Too bad Matt Nagy just made him
Too bad, Matt.
non-existent.
You could have just stopped at too bad, Matt Nagy, and you would have been right.
True.
Honestly, too bad, Matt Nagy. So I have an honorable mention for each one, so I'll do my 10 and my honorable mention. My honorable mention, I have Red Grange, and his last name isn't funny, that's why he's not actually on the list, but his name was Harold, and he like torched the NFL at the very start. So just imagine you're a defender getting back from working a 9 to 5 going to play some football, and a white dude named Harold just runs by you, just torches you and the entirety of your team. I think that's the funniest thing in the world. And maybe I'm overblowing it a little bit, but the dude's name was fucking Harold. But
there are some pretty basic names.
well, yeah,
Like
but Harold just stood out because it's Harold.
No, you want to know a real one? Imagine getting scored on by a guy named JT.
Yeah, true. I just think Harold's funnier because it sounds like somebody's grandpa.
Yeah, trust me. I played with a JT on my football team,
Mm-hmm.
my senior year actually. He scored on them a lot. That's all I'll say.
Interesting. Okay. So my actual number 10, I have a newcomer. I've got Byron Pringle. It's Pringle.
Ooh,
I
the
don't know.
Pringle
I'm a fat
master.
guy. I like food. Pringles are great.
Hey, I'm a fat guy too.
It is what
Pringles
it
are
is.
amazing.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
For my next pick, I have an actual Bears legend, Brian Urlacher. With a
Okay.
name that scary, that just exudes fear. He could be like 5'5" and 120 and 165. And if someone said, "Okay, you're lining up against a guy named Brian Urlacher," that just screams Nebraskan farmer who's been around the block. Even though he's from New Mexico, I
Right.
think.
Yeah, he was a Lobo. Which fun fact about Brian Urlacher while we're on the topic, because he's one of my favorite players ever. He's one of the guys that got me into football. He played his own position that has only ever been played once when he was in college, and it was called a Lobo back. And it's kind of what today's like hybrid linebacker safety is. But I just always think that's cool because Brian Urlacher was just given his own position and no one's ever played it since. He was just that guy. And like you said, him being 5'5", in all actuality, he was like 6'3", 250, which just adds on to the name. I never thought about it like that. Urlacher is a pretty intimidating name.
Like Urlacher's the type of guy that also sounds like a farmer kid, but also sounds Russian. And when you mix those two together, you
Yeah,
get you get the best wrestler the world has ever seen.
yeah. Speaking of wrestlers, I don't know if he's on your list, but I've got one on my list we'll talk about in a little bit. But at number
Oh,
9, go
I
on.
think I know who you're talking about. I think I have him on a different list,
Okay,
but
okay. At number 9, I have the absolute Nagy era legend Arlington Hambright, and I don't feel
oh,
like I need to
that was
elaborate
one
on
that I
that.
missed.
I don't feel like I
Oh,
need
I
to
love.
elaborate on that.
Nah. When me and my stepfather were watching that draft, we were positively laughing when we heard that they drafted a guy named Arlington Hambright.
And then they also drafted Lachavious Simmons to double down on it, but I thought Hambright was
Yeah,
funnier.
yeah. I think from what my stepfather said, he said that just sounds like a guy who's a lineman. That just sounds like someone who's a lineman or was a lineman at one point.
All right. Who's your next
For
individual?
mine, I have Bronco Nagurski.
Yep, that's who I was talking about. That's a wrestler.
Ooh, no. Surprisingly enough, there's another wrestler on
Oh, there's
this
another
list.
one.
Yeah, but Bronco Nagurski, what a man.
Yeah,
He was a Hall of Famer back in the 40s. Man, you should have seen him if they had cameras at the time.
they did. There's recordings of Bronco Nagurski running the ball out there, and it is the funniest thing in the world because he was
He
6'3" running against 5'10" off or defensive linemen. So he would run in a
or
straight line, and guys would just melt off of him. I can
that
sit.
just
I sit and watch Nagurski highlights all the time and just giggle because of how goofy it is to watch this man just run forward and nobody could stop him.
the Gurskin.
Yeah,
Yeah. Also, I am gonna say this too. Um, Getting run over by a guy named Bronco Nagurski just sounds right.
yeah,
Like that doesn't sound like anything else but a running back.
yeah. Well, fullback. Get it right.
Fullback.
He's a
Oh,
fullback.
right. Yeah, oh, right. I forgot. I've also kidnapped Kyle Juszczyk as well. Fullbacks are
How
dead. Sorry to
fucking
say.
dare you? And it's
Hey, I'm
use check.
sorry.
It's
I'm
use
sorry.
check. Put some
It's
goddamn
Juicy
respect on the
Juice.
name. Yeah.
It's Juicy Juice. Oh yeah. Which brings up another statement. Um, I was going to bring this up later, but fullbacks, do you think they're dying out, or do you think that they're being moved to a different position, more or less?
I can answer that question in a moment. I need to pause the recording real quick. I'm getting a phone call that's apparently very important. I need to answer like immediately.
You're fine.
Okay.
I'll entertain the
Yeah.
audience for
If
you.
you want to do that for me, because I can't edit, so I can't stop this mid recording. So go ahead and spit some
Don't.
knowledge or something.
All right, everyone. This episode is sponsored by Sierra Mist. Sierra Mist, when you don't have Sprite. This episode is also brought to you by Pepsi Real Sugar, the only thing that actually allows me to drink regular cola. This episode is also sponsored by the kidnapping victims in my basement. Yes, without them, I wouldn't even be on here. And you may ask, how are they sponsoring me?
Yeah, I
Well,
told you.
it's
Remember
fairly
the other day I
easy.
said he was like hyperventilating?
They give me money, and I give them more time to live.
Oh no.
And as for another sponsorship, we are also sponsored by Burger King. Why Burger King? Because McDonald's. That's why. Anywho, back to the real part.
Wrong with him.
For all the audience out there, did you know that Mongo, aka Steve McMichael, and William the Refrigerator Perry were once on a WWE show? Yep. Back then, they used to have pro wrestlers on TV. I mean, not pro wrestlers, pro football players on TV doing fictional fights.
We should be
which they're not really fictional. They are real, technically, but
we'll be up there tomorrow.
Everyone knows what I mean. And since I got the time, I would also like to shout out.
Alright, yeah, sorry, I had my
shout
phone
out,
on silent and off to the side.
Illinois softball, you're really keeping it up right now. And I'd also like to shout out my dogs, Judge, Eddie, and Ava. I would shout out my parents, but they rather not. And for my final shout out, I'll also like to shout out the players at WIU. Can't wait for them to have a terrible season again.
Well, what did I come back to?
Oh, did you know that we're sponsored by 2 Pepsi products?
No, we're not.
And Burger King.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
You might be, but I'm not.
Hey, I'm just saying, they don't see the contract.
Listen, I have to disclose because it's YouTube. We're not sponsored. We aren't
sponsored.
We are not sponsored.
That was a hashtag fake ad. That was a hashtag fake ad.
There you go.
Because I know you're trying to. I know the YouTube bucks are very much hard to get by now.
We're not even making any money yet. You have to have 1,000 subs to make money, and we're only at 130, I believe. So
now you're going to be at 134. I mean 131. I didn't take into the count that I can't count. But anywho, I think we were on your numbers. I think we were on your 7th one.
My 8th.
8th. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I admittedly did not know this guy existed before I looked. I literally Googled funny Bears player names because I ran out. But we had a linebacker back in the day named Cliff Thrift. And I just think that's wonderful. The alliteration.
Generational talent.
Generational talent. Cliff Thrift. Absolutely wonderful.
Probably comes out of Villanova.
Let's find out, actually. I want to see what college you went to. Cliff Thrift College. He went to East Central University.
Oh, that sounds like a college. That sounds
like a college. Right. Yep.
An undisclosed college location. East Central University.
Yep.
Come on down to East Central University. We are a college that exists somewhere.
Yep, somewhere.
Anywho, I assume it's my turn to go now?
Yep.
So, we all have our best closers in football. We have Tom Brady. We have Aaron Rodgers. We have Matthew Stafford. But I have by far the best quarterback of all time. Owen Goodnight. Quarterback.
Who?
Owen Goodnight.
When did he play? How have I never heard of this man?
Hey, when he throws that ball, it's nighty-night for defenders. That's all I'm going to say.
When did he play? Do you know when he played?
He played I believe he played in 71.
Never heard of this guy before. Interesting. Okay. That's a fantastic closer.
Getting dotted up by Owen Goodnight.
Owen Goodnight, yeah.
And his brother, Gerald, rest in peace.
Different dads, they have different last names.
Yeah,
Half brothers.
yeah, they're same mothers, different fathers.
Yep.
One grew up to be a pro quarterback. The other grew up to be a really, really crappy pro wrestler.
Sounds like a character that, or a wrestler that would have been in the tournament from the original Spider-Man trilogy with Bonesaw. I don't know if you know Spider-Man. That might have been out of your league. I don't know what you know.
Oh
But
no, I have no idea.
okay.
Spider-Man.
Well,
trust me, I gave up on following after Endgame. I just gave up.
Well, I'm talking like the old Tobey Maguire movies from like the early 2000s.
Oh, I still haven't seen any of the Tobey Maguire ones.
Okay. Yeah, there's a point after he gets his powers, he's like, all right, I'm going to go make money. So he joins like a little underground wrestling group. And he fights
I remember that scene with the Sandman.
Yeah. So it sounds like a shitty wrestler from that. So I guess it's my turn then. My number 7, I have a current bear that I actually have really high hopes for. And that is the man, the myth, the legend, Kairos Tonga. And I love his last name because it's the country he resides from, or his family came from.
Tonga.
He is a Tongan,
Tonga
or his
time.
family is Tongan. I believe he's actually from Utah, but his family is from the great nation of Tonga. So their last name is Tonga. Their family resides from Tonga, or presides
Vita
from
Vea
Tonga.
type beat.
Is Vita Vea's family from a country called Vea?
No, but he has one of the longest names known to man. Like, good lord.
You're right. I forgot his name is ridiculous. Yeah, okay.
Vitalius, and then it's just like a bunch of other middle names.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right.
For my next player, I have Dick Butkus,
Of course.
the Chicago Twitter legend.
The Chicago legend, the greatest player in Bears history.
No,
Yes.
I very much disagree.
Nope,
with
I will die on that hill.
Best defensive player, yes. Best player, yes. No. Okay, we're gonna get into a little argument here. Walter Payton literally played football for the Chicago Bears.
Yes, I'm aware.
That is a hot take, to say the least.
Yeah. My big reasoning for saying, well, I'll put it this way. There's 2 reasons why I have him. Number 1, it doesn't have anything to do with his talent. I just feel like he embodies the Chicago Bears better. So if you're talking about like who's the greatest Bear of all time, he's a better representation of the Bears. But I guess I'll give Walter the edge if we want to talk pure talent. Walter's the most talented player to ever play for the Bears, so he strung together the best career. But I think if Dick Butkus would have been able to play a full career and hadn't been set back by numerous injuries, then Butkus would not only be the best Chicago Bear ever, but he would be widely considered the greatest linebacker ever and quite possibly the greatest defensive player ever.
I mean, I guess I can see what you mean now. Yeah, Dick Butkus just sounds like someone that sells Chicago meat on the square. But
Richard Dick Butkus, the maestro of mayhem himself.
Yo, he beats up players and then sells them meat the next day.
Yep, there you go. All right.
And what is your next one? What is behind door number 6?
Another guy I hadn't heard of until I did this list, but it's another linebacker, shockingly. Chicago linebackers, they go hand in hand. A guy named Michael Stonebreaker, which just sounds like a linebacker name. It's perfect.
I had him next too. I had Michael Stonebreaker right next, and I'm not even joking. Yeah. What a name.
Perfect linebacker name. Sounds like a guy that just sounds like in a Madden franchise draft class or something.
That's just the pre-Brian Urlacher. You have Michael Stonebreaker, the precursor to Brian Urlacher.
Except one's a Hall of Fame talent, and the other one I think played like 4 years in the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't actually know. But all right, so I guess it's back to me then, since we both had Stonebreaker and we both kind of covered him.
Yep.
All right, so at number 5, I have one of my favorite players of all time, who's my favorite player of all time for no reason, and that is the man, the myth, the legend, Dane Sanzenbacher. What a fucking name that is.
Is that the guy they got in free agency?
No, you're thinking of Equinemius St. Brown. Dane
No, I'm
Sanzenbacher
thinking of
played.
Dane Kruske.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, Dane Sanzenbacher played in like the early 2010s and was like a sixth. Actually, he might have went undrafted. And he came out of Ohio State, then went to the Bears, and then went to the Bengals. And he was a very mediocre, below mediocre wide receiver. But I can remember seeing his name when I was little, and it's like 2011, 2012. So it was like right when I'm getting into football. And I was like, that guy's going to be him. He's going to be the best receiver the Bears have ever had. And I was horribly wrong because he actually sucked. But his name's fucking cool.
Yeah. The next one I have, big old Jimbo Covert.
Yep, Jumbo Jimbo.
Jimbo Covert. That just sounds like a guy who's a lineman again.
Yeah.
That's just really strange. You have a lot of people that sound like their positions. Like Darnell Mooney sounds like a wide receiver. Like
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers sounds like a quarterback.
Okay.
Jared Cook sounds like a tight end.
Okay.
Like that's very strange. Like you have a lot of like stereotypical names in the NFL, which I kind of don't get, but at the same time I love.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, what's behind your next door?
I've got, yet again, another guy I hadn't heard. Well, I'd heard of him, but I didn't know a whole lot about him, and I still don't. And that's Ronnie Bull. And I think he was either a linebacker or a lineman. So Ronnie Bull's going to bull rush you. Just sounds right. I don't know. I don't really have a witty comment for that one. I feel like it's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah. I mean, not every single one's gonna be a banger. We're not Dave Chappelle. We're not gonna get banger after banger after banger.
Right.
Next on my list, I got a literal bear named Akeem Hicks.
Yeah.
Big boy. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
He a giant boy. Hope he wins one in Tampa.
I do too. Number 3, I have probably the most fitting name for any player playing any position ever, and that is former Bears quarterback Willie Thrower.
Willie Thrower.
Yeah.
That can be taken very, very, very many ways. Willie Thrower.
He was the, if I'm not mistaken, he was the first African American quarterback in the NFL as well, if not one of the first.
Don't say that now. Now I feel bad now for saying that.
I mean,
you can't just bring that up all of a sudden.
Well, you didn't give me a chance. You just went straight for the, ooh, that name sounds like it could be taken other ways. Like, you brought that on yourself.
Okay, but like, how are you not going to expect me to not say something like that immediately?
I didn't think that. That was not what went to my mind. I was like, wow, Willie Thrower? He's a quarterback. He'd be throwing it. And he was also one of the first I don't know if he was the first, but he was one of the first African-American quarterbacks the NFL ever had. So.
All right. Anywho, it's time for my next pick. And I have the coach, Iron Mike Ditka.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, that man, he brought us a Super Bowl to Chicago, and he's gonna do it again. He's gonna become the next coach. Oh, I can't do a Chicago accent to save my life.
That was a Chicago accent?
Bears gonna Super Bowl.
Where are you from?
Yes. I'm not from Chicago.
Okay.
I'm from the Midwest, though.
Okay.
I'm from the Midwest that has no idea how to do a single Chicago accent.
Interesting. I'm on the East Coast, so I'm not even going to try. So. Anyways, my top 2, we've already talked about. I have Bronco Nagurski at 2 and Brian Urlacher at 1. Or I'm sorry, Dick Butkus at 1. Apologies.
Oh, well.
I didn't have Brian Urlacher on my list. I had Nagurski at 2 and Butkus at 1.
Well.
Nothing really else to say about them.
Well, then, for my last one, I have my favorite player at all time for one moment. Mitchell Trubisky.
Money Mitch, baby.
The most polarizing quarterback in Chicago, in my opinion. I feel like he is still one of the most weird and just utterly like just overall weird quarterback. Like you you just don't know with him. Because there are times where he looks like a Hall of Famer. And then there are times he looks like he should be backing up Mark Sanchez.
Well, if this is my thing with Trubisky, if we want to look at it that way, that he's inconsistent. If there are times where he looks like he should be backing up Mark Sanchez, then he shouldn't be in the league. I know that sounds
Yeah.
harsh, and I love Mitch, but if that's how you want to look at it, if you want to call him consistent, then if he's going to have lows that are that low, can't deal with it.
Sorry about that. I had to check on something. What'd you say?
I just said that if Mitch is going to have lows where he looks like he should be backing up Mark Sanchez, he just shouldn't be in the league. Like, I love the guy, but if his lows are that low, there's no point in even risking it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Anywho, I'm gonna leave it to you to have our second quick commercial break because I have to go do something real quick, and I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Plug whatever you want. I'll allow it this time because I am currently being hiding out in my garage from the cops because I did kidnap two people you know. So I will be right back.
It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. Well, this was unexpected. I didn't expect this, but I was gonna plug this anyway, so we'll do it here. What is this? What? Shout out Ricky Schmickus, who just sent me an email on my business email, millerfootballtiktok@gmail.com, if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships or collaborations or anything. But speaking of collaborations, I know I talked about it the last episode, but I want to give you a better idea of what's going on here within the next week, actually tomorrow, which might be the day this goes up, or it'll be the day after. I'm either putting this up after we finish recording or I'll have it posted tomorrow. But either way, it'll be June 21st. I'm going to be recording the first episode, and then it should be published the week after. We're doing these team previews with all 32 NFL teams. And I've currently been compiling guests. It's been a nightmare. We have over 60 guests currently booked for the Vikings episode, which will be the first episode. We've got my boy, the Geek Slays. He's been on the podcast before. You guys know him. Some other big names we've got coming on. The Packers episode. We've got Jake Talk Sports. We've got the Theo Ash of Stay Hot and TikTok fame. We've got a couple guys that follow me on TikTok as well, a couple of my boys. Cowboys, if you're a Star Wars fan, you probably know Mesa Windu from TikTok. He's going to be coming on as well. Josh said he would come on and talk some ball with us. Look at some of our other guests here. We've got Dave, who works for Sports Mockery, Runback Dave, if you know him from Twitter. He's going to be on the podcast. DeWindy City Productions also coming in to represent the Chicago Bears. I'm completely blanking on names right now because I didn't expect to do this on the spot. Josh Berman and Michael Mursky from the Next Network are going to be coming on to talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Elite Takes himself, Nico, he's going to be coming on to talk about the Miami Dolphins. Who else do we have on here that is huge? Brandon Perna of That's Good Sports fame. He's going to be coming on to talk about the Broncos, as well as 5 Points Vids. He's going to be coming on to talk about the Giants.
Yo, I know those guys. Continue.
We've got a bunch of people coming on. It's going to be very, very exciting. Like I said, it's over 60 guests currently booked and counting because I'm trying to make sure we have at least 4 people from each team. Maybe that's a little bit wishful, but I want to do at least 2 because I don't want it to be one-on-one, me just asking somebody questions, because that would get boring real fast. So I want to have a bunch of people with different perspectives, different ideas, different views, different takes and whatnot. So we're trying to get everything we can possible together. And as I've mentioned before, Andrew's not going to be on every single episode because he's busy and also apparently on and off kidnapped and crying about the Celtics. But he's going to come on as many episodes as he possibly can. So It'll be fun. It'll be a blast. I don't have anything else to plug, so I'm gonna hope he comes back. He's not. I think he is.
I'm back.
He's
I'm back.
back.
I was just waiting for you to finish.
Okay, perfect timing.
But yeah, I was gonna say, you got some really good sacks. I'm honestly honored now to be on because I'm going to be near the likes of people that I watch and enjoy. I love Brandon Perna. I know the soft topic. I love 5 Point Vids.
Mm-hmm.
If they do happen to somehow be listening to this one, look, I'm sorry, 5 Points Vids. I didn't mean to scare you when I made that fake Adam Schefter account to say the Giants are gonna sign Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh my.
Yes, I did do that, and if you do end up seeing this, actually, if you could, play this personal clip for 5 points as my personal apology for that.
When I upload it, you can clip it to Twitter and add him with it, tag him with it.
We'll do. But yeah, all I will say is, I Ball Nose Podcast has a lot of really good things coming up. I'm just glad I'm one of the few people that are somehow famous enough to be on and be able to talk in a position like this, breaking out of character and such. I mean, it can't be all that cruel. I mean, I have to have some sort of a heart. Otherwise, the payoff isn't good when the cops eventually come and get me and arrest me. So, but
What do you think
yeah,
you're gonna get love
you're.
letters in prison? Is that what you're trying to get out here?
I mean, I'm hoping I'm trying to get one in prison from you. Hopefully, another invite on the podcast.
That would be a great clickbait title.
Lo-
Talking Chicago sports with an inmate.
Yeah, but yeah, for real though, I really do appreciate you bringing me on here, David. It's a real honor. We still got more to go to, but I feel like this is just kind of like personal to say this because I've never gotten offered from this at all before, so I'm kind of nervous and weird, but it's been a real honor to do this with you. And if the podcast goes well, maybe I'll think about letting them out, and maybe I'll turn myself in.
Maybe. It's a
Maybe.
possibility, but yeah, no, I mean, no problem. I like having people on the podcast. It's always fun to sit down and talk sports with people because that's what I'm doing this for. That's the whole point of this. I want to talk ball with people, and that's why I'm trying to get so many people involved in this whole NFL thing because I just want to talk ball with as many people as possible. So
Yeah. And I'll pretty sure I'll say this later, but if you're ever available or need someone to be chaotic again, I'm always free.
understood. Okay.
Anywho, back in character, we also have a second list now, um, for our favorite bears of all time.
Okay.
Ain't that right?
Yeah, it's true. You want to start this one since I started the last one?
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. For my favorite bears, it's again not ordered, and some of it is recency bias, but
Fair enough.
coming off on my first one is Justin Fields.
Okay.
I mean, there's not really much to say other than like he's the future franchise, and regardless of however he plays it out, I think he'll still be my favorite because I still have the video of me and my stepfather reacting to him and us just praying to whoever's up there to please just don't draft Mac Jones.
Oh my god. Listen, I don't even want to talk about that night. I have myself talked into Kellen Mond. I really thought we were going to stay at this was my genuine thought process. Okay, we're going to stay at 20. We're going to take Tevin Jenkins. And then we're going to trade up into the back of the first round and take Kellen Mond, and that's going to be our future. And I was half right. We got Tevin, but we got a quarterback that blows Mond out of the water.
And blows Vikings fans back into 2012 with Christian Ponder.
Yeah, fuck Vikings
fans. Oh, who said that?
So getting into my top 10. Like I said, I have an honorable mention for all three lists, and my honorable mention is Fields. He's going to jump way up once he's in an actual offense and playing actual football and not playing despite Nagy, But for now, he hasn't quite cracked the top 10, so he would be at like 11 all time, which is saying something because I'm a big history guy. I love old football players, and I've been watching football for over a decade now, so a lot of guys that I've watched. But anyways, Starting out.
This next one,
Oh,
this next one I have is really personal, and I said this earlier in the podcast, but I actually have a signed hat. Well, not signed by him, but in 2018, when the Bears were actually good, me and my stepfather went to a Vikings game.
okay.
Great experience. The Bears won, of course, to put the Vikings out of playoff contention. But the best part of all of that is that once I was done, Taylor Gabriel gave me his hat.
That's awesome.
And I took a picture with it, and I was like, you know what? He may have not been the most greatest player of all time, and he may have been very injury prone. But man, I have massive respect for that
Yeah.
man because he gave me a hat.
He was fun to watch too. He was
Um,
an electric player.
yeah. He, I remember his 3 touchdown game performance against the Washington Redskins, who were
Guess who
named
was
the
at that
Redskins at
game?
the time. You?
Yep, that's the only NFL game I've ever been to was that game.
Oh, that must have been a real good time.
Yeah,
The only time the Bears looked like their 2018 form.
yeah, that game. You know Danny Trevathan's sack where he faked out Brandon Sheriff.
Yeah.
I watched that happen like live. Like I didn't see it on the jumbotron after. When I was watching the game, my thought process was, okay, on different plays, I'm gonna watch different players just to see what's going on, right? And I just happened to watch Danny on that play. And when that happened, my dad, he jumped up, he was celebrating the sack, and I said, "Watch what Danny just did." And they showed on the jumbotron, and my dad's exact words were, "Holy shit!" Because that play, he did the little sidestep and kind of broke Brandon Sheriff's ankles while also faking him out. It was a fun play to watch. And then my dad called the haha Clinton Dix pick six. Once that ball was in haha's like range, he knew it was going to be a pick, and then he jumped it and took it all the way back. That was a fun game. Game was an absolute blast.
For my next player, I have the preseason Jesus, the preseason Destroyer, aka 3 touchdowns, Jesper
Oh,
Horsted,
that's not who I thought you
who
were
is
going to go with, but okay.
who is unfortunately no longer on the Bears, but he is still amazing in my heart. I have a very, very soft spot for backup Bear tight ends or former backup Bear tight ends who became starters. Basically, the tight end embodies a Chicago Bear, in my opinion.
That's valid.
Big, strong, can block, can catch, can run. A tight end embodies a Chicago Bear, in my opinion.
I think I'd be more inclined to go with a linebacker, but that's valid. I think a tight end would definitely be second. Or actually, no, I'd put a running back over them too. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your parade with that. You're not wrong. You're valid.
Trust me, the parade's already been stepped on. Actually, they're currently stepping over your co-host right now.
Oh well.
He feels no more pain anymore. He's just sad.
All right. Well, I got to do two in a row because you kind of usurped me there. You skipped over me. So
Gotcha.
my number 10, I have Bronco Nagurski, who, like I said earlier, I just love sitting down and watching Bronco play. Like, his highlights are the goofiest thing in the world to me. And the only reason he's not higher is because I didn't actually watch him play. So, if it weren't for, like, if I was alive during the 1930s and I was watching Bronco Nagurski play, he'd probably be my favorite player of all time. But I wasn't, so I'm not going to call him my favorite player. And then at number 9, I have, and this is me kind of getting nerdy, and I think I've said this before, the embodiment of the Batman and Robin stereotype, but like it actually being accurate, and that's Lance Briggs, because the idea of Batman and like the Batman to his Robin, right? Like Briggs is the Robin to Urlacher's Batman. Everyone looks at that like he's the sidekick. He's good, but he's not quite as good. But then if you're like a comic book nerd like I am, and Robin just so happens to be my favorite fictional character ever, he's actually like almost on or like on par with Batman at times. And Lance Briggs was almost on par with Brian Urlacher for the majority of his career. Like he might be the most underrated linebacker ever. I will die on the hill that Lance Briggs should be a Hall of Fame football player. So yeah, that's why
I
I like
agree
Lance
too. I
Briggs.
agree too.
Love
Sorry
Lance
for jumping
Briggs.
over you,
Yeah, no,
but
you're good. You're good.
as for my next player, I have the should have been first ballot Hall of Famer and got royally screwed because the NFL doesn't know true talents when it comes to Hall of Fame players. Um, First ballot Hall of Famer in my heart, Devin Hester.
Valid.
I don't care what anyone says. He is a Chicago Bear. He is not an Atlanta Falcon. He is not a Baltimore Raven. Whatever other team he played on, he played as a Chicago Bear and not a different team.
If a player plays like a year for a team, you can't claim them. You can't.
Yeah.
And
Like the only moments were, and especially I hate it when people are like, "Oh yeah, Devin Hester broke Dion's record with the Falcons, and that is a Falcons moment." No, that's not a Falcons
that's
moment.
a
That's a
Devin
Devin
moment.
Hester
Yep.
moment. Yeah, Devin Hester will only have Bear moments, and then Devin Hester moments,
Right.
and that was a Devin Hester moment right
Right.
there.
Yeah. Well, my number 8, I have one of Devin Hester's former teammates, and that is the one and only Smokin' Jay Cutler. And Jay, I mean, I don't know what to say about Jay. Like he's just Jay, you know. We all know Cutler. We all know how Cutler was and how he played and how he acted. I miss him. I love him to death. I remember I cried the day he retired, I think, when he left Chicago, and then he came out of retirement to play for Miami. But I remember I cried that day, and I put out this big, lengthy Instagram post, and I was like, "Jay, you're my
You were in your
quarterback.
field.
You're all." Yeah, I was. I was in my feels before that was the thing when Jay Cutler retired. And now looking back on him, like seeing some of the stuff he's done recently, like I don't know if you follow him on Instagram, but he had this whole thing right when he got Instagram where he was hunting, I think it was a mountain lion or a cougar that was killing his chickens in his backyard. And there's this beautiful photo of Jay Cutler sitting on his porch with full on like military grade night vision goggles, smoking a cigar. And it might be
Oh
the
my god.
coldest image in human history. Like Jay Cutler is a walking legend. And
Image
then
goes hard. Feel free to screenshot.
right. And then the shit he did to his ex-wife where she like asked him like, "Hey, can I have a couple $1,000,000 to buy a home?" And he was like, "No," and froze all of her fucking bank accounts. Like that shit was funny. He's a stone cold killer, although he's been kind of iffy recently cuz he went on a whole anti-vax tirade and apparently he
Yeah,
cheated on his wife, but other than that, Jay's that guy. I love Jay.
I mean, I just tend to try to not focus on other people's politics because I
Fair
really
enough.
don't care that
Fair
much.
enough. I get that.
But I get the message that people are trying to send, and most of the time they're good.
Yeah, I get that.
Anywho, as for my next one, um, we got the fumble master, Charles Tillman,
Peanut baby.
my stepfather's favorite bear of all time. My
Valid.
stepfather specifically. Oh, he references Peanut all the time. Whenever someone goes to punch a ball, it's like, oh, there's a peanut punch. Oh, there's a peanut punch.
Yeah. That's another.
He
Oh,
loves them.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's another player I think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and if not for him, if not for his career and whatnot, there should at least be a little exhibit for the peanut punch because that has become like an iconic move, and that's what everyone knows it as now.
Yeah,
So
and stat wise, you can make a case. Yeah, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I personally think he does too, but that's with bear bias.
right,
I don't think he will ever make it in, but
probably
he
not.
definitely deserves to be in the Bears Ring of Honor,
Oh,
in
he
my
will.
opinion.
He will be. There's no way he isn't. He was a lockdown corner for like 8 years for us. There's no way he's not. He's the best corner we've ever had.
He's another one where you don't own him, Carolina. You don't get any of his moments.
Right.
That just becomes a Charles Tillman moment.
And I love Tillman too because he's a good guy off the field. Like he's done so much charity work for children's hospitals and stuff, which is fantastic. I always love that kind of stuff. And now he's like a fucking FBI agent, which is
Dude,
awesome.
I don't want to mess with him. I do not. I
You
would
do
not
not
want to
mess
mess
with
with him.
Charles Peanut Tillman. You simply do not.
Foreshadowing.
Oh, okay. So my number 7, and I will get shit from Bears fans for having him this low, is Walter Payton. As much as I love Walter, I'm very much a defense guy, so The majority of my top six is defensive oriented. And Walter is probably the most fun Bears player to watch, but again, I didn't watch him personally. I didn't grow up with him. So it's not like I have fond memories of like when I was 6 years old, I watched Walter Payton rush for 200 yards. I don't have that. I have that with other players who I'll talk about in a minute, specifically another running back. But I don't know. You can't be a Bears fan and not love sweetness. You can't not love Walter.
Yeah. I mean, especially with his entire story and such. Like, he is he is probably, besides Gale Sayers and Brian's song, one of the most like story wise impactful, happy, and sad story
Yeah.
when it comes to being a Chicago Bear. I definitely feel like you shouldn't really rank them, but him and Gale Sayers kind of on the same level.
And Piccolo has his own story. I know you said him originally, but Piccolo is in there as well. They just did a I don't know if I'm sure you did because you're on Twitter, but the little tribute they did for Piccolo at OTAs was nice. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, right now, it's my go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it yours?
It's yours.
Oh, okay. Well, I for my next pick, again, another one with a really sad tale. Uh, Tariq Cohen.
Yeah.
I love he was he was Madden Jesus in my eyes. I just ran the ball with him all the time in Madden, and that just made me love him. And then just his, I remember specifically because me and my stepfather couldn't watch the Bears game at home, so we went to Buffalo Wild Wings and watched it. And like we were starting to be like, you know what, this game sucks. This is boring. He then does that play with the 49ers where he just does 20 million different things and then scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
Buffalo Wild Wings went kind of crazy.
I'm sure they did. That play was nuts. Ran
Yeah.
backwards and came back around.
He was running the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad, he's a bit of an old head when it comes to football. And he to this day says, I still can't believe that little fucker pulled that off. I was so pissed when he did it. Like, my dad was literally, when he started running backwards, he said, well, can't do that anymore. Can't let him return kicks anymore. Then he turns it around. He said, that little fucker really did it. But yeah, Tariq Cohen is a very sad story. I feel so bad for Tariq, and I hope he gets to play football again, but realistically, I don't see it happening.
He is one of the few, but he goes up. He isn't as sad of a story again as like Johnny Knox,
I
like
don't
that
I don't
dude.
know. I would say everything that he was dealing with on top of that puts him in that category
Yeah,
with both of his brothers dying.
yeah.
Like,
But I feel like we shouldn't really like be
well,
ranking
no, I'm not.
sadness because that feels kind of.
I'm not trying
It's
to
just
rank it. I'm just
every
saying Cohen's up there.
everyone has their own trauma.
Right,
Yeah, I
exactly.
do feel bad about his story though.
Yeah,
Flemo made a really great video. I mean, I don't know him, but he made a really great video on Tariq Cohen following everything. And I feel like that just really put in perspective, like, you know, I may say stuff like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers doesn't love his family," or something about Tom Brady's son. But
right.
like at the end of the day, they are real people, and
Yeah,
at the end of the day, even though we are necessarily joking at them, we kind of do need to take into consideration that they are in fact people.
yeah,
And I was really upset with the Bears community when they uh, got on Tariq after he didn't play last year because it's not easy to recover from an
yeah.
ACL. I was playing football my junior year and I sprained my MCL and it took me like 2 months to start walking normally again.
Oof. Yeah, I didn't get on Tariq when he didn't play, but I was very much in the crowd that thought Chicago needed to get rid of him because he was, for lack of better words, dead weight. And obviously, I don't mean it like that. It was more or less they were in a position to be holding on to contracts they couldn't afford. And I didn't know if Tariq was going to be able to come back. And if he did come back off that ACL tear, we didn't know if he was going to be able to play the same he did. Given his play style, it's very reliant on his speed and quickness. And coming off a torn ACL, you lose a little bit of that. So I won't lie, I was very much in the we need to get rid of Tariq Cohen and look
Yeah,
elsewhere group. But I do
everyone
feel
was.
I feel very, very bad for the man, and I mean I'm just glad he got paid. I'm glad Chicago had to pay him at the end of the day because
Yeah,
he got some money out of it.
yeah. It's just like I said. It sucks to see a player that you enjoy just
Yeah,
get just freak injuries happen to him, and then just like that, it's all gone. Like
yeah,
the NFL, like everyone says, the NFL stands for not for long, and that's still true to this day.
yeah,
No matter how many advancements you can make, there are just some people that will never be able to come back.
yeah.
And I know this is a little bit off topic, and we're kind of going off on something else, but
You're fine. We
I
do that
mean,
all the time on here.
just look at the impact of injuries, like David Johnson,
Yeah.
J.J. Watt. Like those people, like J.J. Watt, yeah, he still did good, but David Johnson, once he tore his ACL, he was gone.
RG3,
Like
throw
he,
him in the same boat.
yeah, it's just it always sucks to see a player go to injury.
Hmm.
You joke like normally you shouldn't joke, but we all have that moment where like, oh, I really hope Aaron Rodgers gets a cold and doesn't play today. But like at the end of the day, like they are they are
Yeah,
still people.
yeah.
And I feel like it's still kind of crappy that we still have people who cheer for injuries
Yeah, cheering
because
for
they're still
injuries
people.
is never good. My thing,
Yeah.
I always cheer for something good to happen to a player if I don't want him to play. I'm like, oh, I hope his pregnant wife goes into labor and he gets to experience the birth of his child, Like, you're not going to play that game, but it's also not something negative. It's something beautiful that you're wishing something good upon them.
Right, right. Well, it's your go after that small little tiny
Yeah,
tangent.
yeah. Well, my next one, I have a special connection to, and that's Richard Dent, defensive end from the 1985 Super Bowl team, won MVP. And the reason I have a special connection to him is the 1 year I played football, my offensive and defensive line, well, offensive line coach, and then also my defensive line coach, two different guys. I played both ways, offensive line and defensive line. And I say played, I was a bench warmer, but, I still practiced. And during practice, my coaches would call me Dent because I was a Bears fan and Richard Dent was just the first name they thought of. And because of that, I started to love Richard Dent. And then also, like I said, I'm a big defense guy. He was the Super Bowl MVP in 1985, one of the best defensive ends ever, Hall of Famer. Can't go wrong with him.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. Uh, I feel like maybe in the future we could just go on about the '85 Bears and how we were never alive to see them. But
Unfortunately.
I actually have a scratch for my one. I am removing one and I'm replacing it with someone else because I just realized he is one of the coldest people to ever exist. And I got Olin Kreutz, who currently took over Darnell Mooney's spot. So Darnell is my honorable mention. But Olin Kreutz, like that dude is a stone cold guy. He will say what he believes and he will say it proud. And I respect him for that. I still don't agree with your take on Munsterford. Good lord, no one is high on him. No one else is high on Munster other than you.
So
But
high
if
on
we're
him that he
talking like,
feels the need to assault his coworkers over it, but go on.
I, we don't know what's going on with that. I really hope Olin isn't doing like bad things
No,
or
I think
like
he's
some.
listen. If we saw it in the NFL, he was a very aggressive football player. I'm sure he's just got a short temper. I'm sure that's all it is. I'm not accusing him of being like
Yeah.
of having CTE or something. I'm sure he's just a big dude with a short temper, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't care either way. But still, I think Olin is one of the coldest people to ever play for the Chicago Bears because he does not care. He
Yeah.
is the embodiment of what Mike Tomlin said. We do not care.
Right.
We do not care.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. My number 5, getting into our top 5s now, or my top 5. You said yours isn't in order. I have Matt Forte, who one of the I do TikTok. That's kind of my thing. That's kind of my social media platform. One of the first big TikToks I ever made, I stole uh, clips from NFL Throwback of Matt Forte doing his thing as a dual threat receiving back, and the caption was like, "The original Christian McCaffrey was Matt Forte" or something goofy. And that was like the first video that like blew up. It had like 40,000 views. But I just loved watching Matt Forte as a kid. He's the reason why running back is my favorite position on offense. He was super fun to watch, like I said, as a receiving back and as an actual running back. He could do it both ways. That run he has against Tampa, where he like made two guys run into each other, is one of my favorite highlights ever. And I'm still deeply saddened to this day that he retired a goddamn Jet. Makes me so sad.
The McCaskies wouldn't rehire him. I still stand firm on that. No, I still do not believe the McCaskies would have ever rehired him.
Yeah.
But either way, for my next person, I have. I brought this up earlier, but Money Mitch. Look, Mitch. I don't care what you say. 2018
Was magical.
was magical. I don't care, and I'm still the one saying that if Cody Parkey makes that kick, you win the Super Bowl. I don't
Very
care what
likely.
people say.
Very
I
likely.
don't care that people say, oh, the Rams lost them, and oh, this, and oh, that. Matt Nagy was still doing good, and he could have won. He could have won.
Yeah.
And I feel like Trubisky could have made something happen and become a Chicago legend.
Yeah.
But one kick changed our entire franchise.
Yeah. So
And that's just the sad reality.
yeah. So I have Mitchell Trubisky at 4, ironically. I give him a lot of shit now for not being a good football player because I don't think he's that great. But I love the guy. He just looks like a fun, goofy, wholesome guy. Like that interview of him with the Christmas sweater is one of my favorite things ever. I've watched that a billion times. And then him talking about when he got the MVP when he's with the guys at Barstool Sports is hilarious. The tweet, I love to kiss titties. Love that. That's gold. And on the field, like you said, 2018 was legitimately a magical year. Now, after that, he sucked. But 2018 is a year that we will always cherish. And I fully agree. We probably would have won the Super Bowl in 2018 if Parkey makes that goddamn kick. And it wouldn't have been because of Nagy. It would have been, again, in spite of Nagy, because the defense would have carried us all the way there. And, the old saying, defense wins championships. They would have won us a championship that year. Because who went to the Super Bowl that year? The Rams, who we had just beaten in the regular season.
Yep, the Rams and the Patriots.
Yeah, we beat the Rams in the regular season.
We were 1 yard away. We were a Kevin White yard away from tying the game up and going into OT.
Yeah. My only concern with that, though, in hindsight, though, after saying I think the Bears would have won the Super Bowl, I feel like Belichick would have had a field day with Trubisky in the Super Bowl. But who knows? Maybe the defense. That game was a big defensive game, so who knows? Maybe it would have been the same thing, and Chicago's defense would have came out on top because they had the best defense in football that year. So
yeah, but
yeah, I love Mitch. He's bad, but I love him.
Yeah, people have said this ironically, but it's slowly becoming true that 2018 is the new 1985 for modern day Bears fans.
Except it wasn't as successful, but yeah.
Yeah. Anywho, for my next player, I have again another really sad story and one that I followed through and through. When the Bears played the Saints in 2017, Zach Miller made one heck of a catch, and it costed him his career. And that should have been a catch.
I'm very mad at myself for not putting Zach Miller on my list now. I fucking love Zach.
Zach Miller is amazing. Yeah. Zach Miller is amazing. I don't care what people say. I don't care that he was a backup tight end. I don't care that he was just a guy. Zach Miller was the only bright light on the 2016 and 2017 squad.
He was Mitch's only receiver in 2017.
Yeah.
Literally.
No, not his only receiver. We had guys like Josh Bellamy,
Dontrell Inman, Kendall Wright, Marcus Wheaton.
Oh, Marcus Wheaton, the $1 million catch man.
And no, I think Cam Meredith was gone by then.
Cam Meredith, yeah.
Kevin White was still lurking though.
Yeah. But yeah, Marcus Wheaton, amazing. But yeah, Zach Miller was really the only bright spot on that core. And then his and then that happened, and I still think that was one of the only moments where I look at it in just sheer terror. We all that was back when they replayed injuries.
Yeah.
Me and my family saw that in live action. We almost couldn't take it.
I saw it
But
as it
yeah.
happened. It was awful.
Plus, he also had that one-handed catch against the Chargers.
Caught Mitch Trubisky's
in
first
the
ever
fourth
touchdown
quarter.
against Minnesota.
I thought that. Oh yeah.
It was that goofy play
Zach-
where Mitch rolls out to the right and he
That was a
motions.
2-point conversion.
It was a conversion.
Not
I
a
could have swore
touchdown.
that was a touchdown.
No, that was a 2-point conversion. Because I remember that game too, because they were doing the weirdest stuff against the Vikings and it was working.
Hold on.
And I have another player on that list that did something that Vikings game, but I'm going to keep him a secret and let you continue. Because I have, I think, one left. So do your other two since I already jumped your two.
I don't know. You do your next one. I'm looking up this play. I want to make sure it was a 2-point conversion because I could have sworn it wasn't.
Yeah, you want to prove me wrong on your podcast. You want to bring on a guest. You want to bring on a guest and say you're the one that's wrong. But anywho,
and you are wrong because I'm watching it right now and it was a touchdown.
No,
Bootleg to the right. Nope. Bootleg to the right. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Mitchell Trubisky does this to Zach Miller. He comes back, catches the ball, does a little shovel touchdown dance.
No, that's no.
Nope,
No,
the ball gets tipped up by a Vikings defender, falls into Zach's arms like this. I will send you the clip right now. I'm watching it as it happened.
I could have sworn that was. Oh wait, I'm probably thinking of the Philly special that was stolen from us.
Yeah. No, the 2-point conversion
then you
was
are
this
right.
weird Mitchell Trubisky run right afterwards. There was a weird 2-point conversion after, but no, it was his first career touchdown. How dare you question me?
Okay, I will question you because I'm holding people captive right now.
Okay,
and
hold
I
on.
can hear the police siren.
I'm getting another very important phone call. My apologies.
Nah, you're fine. You're fine. Again, I will once more entertain the crowd.
Hello?
Time for another Taegen fun fact. Did you know that Did you know? Actually, I don't know what to really entertain you, so I'm just gonna plug my own thing again. I would like to shout out the people in the Dumpster Fire group chat. Y'all really been a homie to me. Enjoy ya and appreciate ya. I also like to shout out someone specific. My Vikings fan Spencer. Ayo Spencer. That Spotify football thing we got to be doing soon.
Don't be shouting out Vikings fans on my podcast.
Hey, he's one of the chillest Vikings fans.
I don't care. He's a damn Vikings fan. Don't be shouting them out on my podcast.
Hey, I will defend him to death.
You can defend him all you want. It doesn't matter. It's my podcast.
He loves Nirvana, my guy. He loves Nirvana. That's why
he loves Nirvana. Ooh, he's a Vikings fan.
Okay. East Coast. Okay, having to pay tax and soda.
Okay. Sure, we'll go with that. Anyways, continue.
Anywho,
your
my last one is Mega Punt. Punt Pat O'Donnell. As one of the only people that has seen that man more than I have seen my quarterback, we all love Pat O'Donnell.
Absolutely.
And we all cried when he went to Green Bay.
But it's okay. We've got his disciple.
I don't care what anyone says. All Bears fans love their punters. They hate seeing them, but they love their punters to death.
And we've got the second coming in Trenton Gill, who's actually wearing 16.
Trenton Gill. Nah. You know who we should have gotten? Should have gotten that guy from New Mexico, San Diego State.
Oh, yeah. No, we did not need to waste a high draft pick on a goddamn punter. I'm still kind of mad we drafted one.
Who else were we going to sign?
Another receiver? I don't know.
We're gonna sign. We would end up getting somebody named Pringle Joshua.
What position does he play?
A freaking left end out of Massachusetts, Chattanooga University.
Can he play?
What?
Can he play? Can this hypothetical player ball?
Oh, this hypothetical player also He's 6'7", 370 pounds,
So he'd convert to a
and
defensive tackle in our system.
One of his draft list experts says professional eater.
So he would be the second coming of William Perry, and he would convert to defensive tackle, and the city of Chicago would fall in love with him.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
What you
Quit
just
altering my
explained.
words.
What you just explained.
Say your list. Say your list.
No,
Say
listen,
your
the
list.
player you just
No.
gave me a hypothetical for would be beloved by Chicago fans and would probably get his own dish named after him at like 6 deep dish pizza places.
No. He'd get his own dish at Harry Carey's.
Wherever.
Which, by the way, Harry Carey's only has good mac and cheese. I've said it.
He's speaking a foreign language. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I've never been to Chicago. Anyways, so I you skipped over me again, I think. So I'm in my top 3. I'm at my top 3.
Off your list.
Okay, so at number 3, I have Brian Urlacher, the guy who got me into football, the man who made me love football. He's the reason that defense is my favorite my favorite side of the ball. He's the reason I always wanted to play linebacker, even though I simply did not have the build to do it. And he's the only jersey that I've owned more than... No, that's not true. He's one of 3 jerseys I've owned more than once. I forgot about Trubisky and Peyton. So yeah, I love Brian Urlacher. Number 2, I have who I want to say is my favorite player of all time, but I can't because I didn't watch him play, and that's Dick Butkus. Again, he just perfectly embodies the Chicago Bears. I don't like him because of his name. I'm not immature. I like him because he was a fucking animal, hard-hitting linebacker who would fuck you up, and he's also hilarious on Twitter. And number 1, if you haven't noticed, I'm wearing his jersey, and that would be the absolute legend, Kyle Long, who is my favorite football player ever. Just love Kyle. He was the face of the team in the mid 2010s for a while there, which is kind of sad to think about because he was a Pro Bowl guard, but it's a guard. But beyond that, he also seems like a super chill guy. Like I've said multiple times, once I turn 21, he's the type of guy I'd want to have a beer with. That's like a bucket list item. And he's liked a tweet of me saying that before, so it's going to happen. I am manifesting it, that one day I will have a beer with Kyle Long. So, there you have it.
I have a very sad, cringy story.
Oh no.
I was fiending for Bears players to talk to me when I was, I think, either in 8th or 9th grade, and then I saw Kyle Long was active a lot on Twitter, so I just constantly tweet after him, and then I think the account's deleted, so no one can find it, but the dude just straight up said, You're following me on Twitter way too much, dude. Please stop. That was a really... Okay, I'm going to say this right now. The grind didn't stop for popularity when I was 13. Nah, that still went till this day. Oof. Unfortunately, thankfully he didn't block me, but I did get a lot of flame on Twitter.
Fair enough.
And in the most coping strategy way, I said, well, I only did it to be ironic and such. Oh. Looking back on it, thank goodness that Twitter account no longer exists. I'm very much scared of meeting him in person.
Well, I
actually saw him in person at the Bears 100. Okay, one more story.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a picture of I'm sending it to you right now.
Okay.
I actually have a picture of Mitch Trubisky and me.
Wow.
And I'm not joking. Straight up, I have a picture with me and him.
See, that's lucky. I've only ever met one football player, and I didn't get a picture with him.
It was during their 100-year anniversary type deal.
Right.
I'm trying to find it right now. I might not... I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. And reminder, this was me when I was 14. And the similarities on it are shocking. I got called Mitch Trubisky during football practice, and it was something, all right.
Well, we're still waiting.
What? I posted it.
Oh, you posted it.
I posted it in the chat.
Send it in the chat. I don't see it. Oh, you mean on Discord? I thought you meant on Twitter. I was checking my
Yeah.
DMs.
No, not
I
on
gotcha.
Twitter.
I gotcha.
Look, I don't know how, but
You've got
we
like you've
somehow
got the same smile and the same like cheek size or cheek bone structure.
eyebrows, nose.
Yeah, okay, I see the nose now. I didn't notice that at first. Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, I look oddly. I'm the second coming of Mitch Trubisky. Everyone, instead of throwing footballs, I throw hot takes on Twitter, and sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're bad, just like Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, I used to get told I looked like Mitchell Trubisky back in high school, and my beard wasn't quite as long. And also before COVID hit, and I gained a bunch of the weight that I lost back, and I never saw it. I think people just looked at me as generic white boy with beard equals Mitch Trubisky because that's what people do. But you look a lot more like him than I do, that's for sure.
Yeah. Anywho, um,
We're on to
you
nicknames
have one
now.
more, I think.
No. Kyle Long was
Oh,
my
we're
number
done.
one. I was gonna
All
say though,
right.
I've spoken to Kyle Long before in DMs, and he's gonna come on this podcast at some point. Not sure when, but at some point.
That's when you do, you got to invite me because I have to publicly
We'll see.
apologize to him in person, apologize for my cringy 13-year-old behavior, and then ask him to please follow me on Twitter because uh, I feel sorry.
Do you have any Bears
Before
players
we,
that follow you on Twitter?
no, none of them do, but I
Okay,
am followed by Windy City, and
I
he's
am too.
basically the most popular Bears
I am as well. He's coming on the
person.
podcast next week
Yeah.
for the little Bears
Hey,
preview.
real nice dude. Real nice
He
dude.
seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he really is. But anywho, I feel like before we get down to our last list, uh, we should. I do want to make a little bit of a detour because
Sure.
now that you mentioned this, I did want to ask,
Okay.
what was your most memorable football moment?
Most memorable football moment.
Like playing football,
Oh,
because you said that
playing
you did.
football. Playing football. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. Like I said, I played football for a year in middle school, so it's not like I have this big long illustrious career or anything, and there's nothing to brag about. I grew up asthmatic, and I'm still asthmatic, as you can see with this. So I was never allowed to play football, but in the eighth grade I was allowed to, and I played for a year. And I was gonna play through high school, but my school's high school or the high school that I went to, good lord, the coach sucked, and I refused to play for him. So I quit football and went back to theater. But in the year I did play, I have this very memorable moment, and in hindsight, it's very cringy the way I acted during it, but it was like perfectly set up. It was one of the like two night games we played. We were playing in a high school stadium, so you have like the Friday night lights, except it's like uh, Thursday at like 6:30 p.m. and it's dark. And I got put in. I will say there was a stretch where I was their like main substitution for the defensive tackle, so I would actually get a little bit of playing time. In this one play, my defensive line coach grabs me by the face mask and goes, "You're gonna fire off that fucking ball and you're gonna do something." I was like, okay. So I'm hyped up in my head. I'm like my helmet doing that shit, and I get down on my stance. I fire off the ball as quick as I can, and they're doing this concept where the center, who I was over top of, is pulling, which in hindsight is goofy. I've never heard of a
Oh,
center
I
pulling.
can tell what's going
So
on.
the center pulls, right? And I'm going straight. The center pulls out to the right. So I literally get a free release, basically. And I go to get the quarterback, and he hands the ball off. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to skip the quarterback and get the running back. And I go to grab the running back, and he hands the ball off. It's a double reverse. So I said, fuck it, just went, whoom. And I smacked the ball out of their hand mid handoff and fell on top of it. And I forced him recover to fumble. And I got up, and I still had the ball in my hand. And I started to walk over to the sideline, and the whole sideline's going crazy because I'm good friends with all of them. And they're like, holy shit, he did a thing. And one of the the offensive coordinator, who was an asshole, walks over to me and he goes, "You gotta give the ball back, dumbass." And he hits the ball out of my hand and hands it to the referee. But it was like it literally felt like a
That's
scene out of a
amazing.
movie. That was like my Rudy moment, where I shouldn't really have
Uh
been there, and it doesn't do a whole lot, but I had a big moment.
I've played football all 4 years of my life.
All
You
4
know,
years of your
Midwestern
life?
towns that no, I played football 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and I also played 6th. I skipped 7th because I was lazy as a 7th grader and didn't want to do anything.
Fair enough.
However, I did play, and I will say, uh, my most impactful memory. I mean, disregard. I'll do a funny one, then a most impactful. Um, would be because like when I started, I was not good
Hmm.
at all.
I never got good,
Um,
so I feel you.
like freshman year, I was loud, talked a lot, was constantly on JV. Sophomore year, same thing, wasn't that much better. Junior year, um, that's when like, oh, this is when I get my moment. This is when I turn around. So practice is almost over. I go to run through our play, and we're going full pads. I go lines pulling. Someone was like falling right under me, and then I had two players running right at me, mowing me over because it was a pull. While that happens, my knee just decides to say goodbye, peace out.
Damn.
Sprained my MCL. I couldn't play basically for the rest of the season. I tried playing in a JV game, didn't quite work. I still showed up the entire time though.
Right.
That's I was the only person to do that. And then come senior year, this is everything. This is my last shot. I finally start. Everything goes well, but then we have our last game. Well, almost last game. We were going up against a very not good team. They were a small school, so we didn't feel too bad. Um, but we ended up getting up 48-0, and a lot of their players ended up getting injured. So
Oof.
while we're in the locker room, coach goes to me and says, "Hey," and we have a new coach because the other one left.
Okay.
Um, so he says to me, "Hey, you're not playing again," and I'm like, "Oh, come on." So that really kind of motivated me. But then they called the game at halftime, 48-0.
Damn.
Game's over, and then I was happy and such. But then I see my former coach, one that I look up to the most. I still don't care what people say. He had the most impact on me. He goes up to me and says, "Look at you now. When you first started here, you were a loudmouth, don't know how to play football, have no experience." And he told me that he didn't expect much from me, straight up. He did not. He told me that he didn't expect anything from me. Guy that they put in on special teams. But then he says, "Look at you now. You're a starter and a role player on the defense." And he told me how proud he was of me. And that right there made me feel very accomplished in a sort of way. It made me feel happy. I don't care what other people say. He had a big impact on my life. And I will forever be grateful for him for coaching for me.
That's
Now,
it's a nice
now that we
little
got the emotional,
wholesome story. Yeah,
yeah.
give me the other one.
This one isn't more or less about me, but it's just funny in general.
Hmm.
So, there's a really big 1A school. Well, not big, but a really good 1A school nearby.
Right.
So we go to them and play them, and it doesn't go well. We are playing horribly. They're a really tough school. We were going to give it our all. They were just better. So game's pretty much third quarter. Game's pretty much over. It's raining. It's pouring. It's downright terrible. We're missing a player on defense.
Okay.
I'm out there looking like, where's the guy next to me? Because I play defensive line. I'm like, hey, we need someone. And then there's a guy on my football team. I'll call him Eric because I'll probably send this to him later. Um, he's not great at. He's not good at football at all. He joined. He played his freshman sophomore year. Didn't play his junior.
Mm-hmm.
He joined middle of his senior year because he just wanted to.
Right.
So my O-line coach is literally just grabbing him, throws him into the game. He is just dead on sprinting to the field. And then they start the play. Dead on. First thing, he runs through the hole. Basically, it's a safety blitz at this point. He's supposed to be on D-line. He's right on the sideline. He gets thrown in. He runs straight at them. And then he gets a tackle for a loss. And then everyone's just sitting here around like, how did that happen? We literally had a 3 safety basically thing. Who should have been a lineman. He gets thrown down and then he gets a tackle for 2 yards loss. And we're just all sitting here like, this why? that isn't the funniest of my story, but that is the number one memory I will remember, because I don't care what people say. He may have not been good, but that was a laugh. That is still, I think, in memory, his only memorable impact that he's done during football. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably how the people that watched me force that fumble felt, because there was no reason I should have been there to do that, and it was just goofy.
You've been there too.
Right.
He basically was a safety blitzer,
right?
And I had to take on like 2 or 3 guys, and apparently all 3 of them thought, "Oh, let's go after the big guy in the middle," and I'm like, "Why?" So that leaves up the hole, and now he gets a tackle, and I'm just here like, through this game. But yeah, funny, all that story done out of the way. We are down to our last list, and if everything goes well, I might let your wife and your friend free. It seems like your friend doesn't want to leave. He'd rather wallow in his own sadness. So,
interesting.
Oh no! When he comes back, you'll see him. You'll hear him.
Right.
He might sound depressed still, but still. I will start this time because I kind of lapped over you.
You want to
again?
Just since the nicknames don't require as much context, do you want to just run through them? You run through your 10, I'll run through my 10.
Yep.
All right.
And again, this ain't in order. So I have the fridge, the human joystick, the barbarian, the biscuit, Mongo, Butthead, Peanut, A-Train, Red Rifle, and we all know the best name of all time, Sweetness.
Yep. All right. My top 10 is surprisingly very different from yours. That just goes to show how many great nicknames the Bears have had. I mean, there's a little overlap, but there's not a bunch. So, like I said for this one, I did an honorable mention. I have Mitch Kissin' Titties. I didn't do Mr. Biscuit. I did Kissin' Titties just because I think that's funnier. But my top 10, 10-1. At number 10, I have Iron Mike Ditka. Number 9, Smokin' Jay Cutler. Number 8, Charles Peanut Tillman. Number 7, Samurai Mike Singletary. Number 6, Steve Mongo McMichael. Number 5, I have Red Grange, also known as the Galloping Ghost. Number 4, we have Gale Sayers, also known as the Kansas Comet. Number 3, I have William the Refrigerator Perry, of course. At number 2, I just put Dick Butkus nicknames because he has like 12 of them, including the Robot of Destruction and the Maestro of Mayhem. And then at number 1, obviously it's got to be Sweetness. Sweetness might be the best nickname in all of sports.
Yeah. But anywho, if you have time still, we can still do one more thing to talk about, and if you want, but if you still would rather end it off here, I'd be fine with that.
I'm intrigued to see what this other thing you have planned is. So let's roll with it.
Basically, the last thing I wanted to say is this. Throughout your entire time podcasting, and which would be a good while, you've had some pretty interesting experiences, and I just wanted to ask, as a guest, how was it with me being on here? How did it feel like?
Well, first of all, I think you're overestimating how long I've been podcasting. We started in January, so it's only been a few months. But I will say, in terms of how guests go, this has definitely been the most interesting because all of the other guests we've had have either been very much just chill. It's been a chill recording, just a couple guys talking, or the most recent guest we had, it was like a legitimate serious discussion that also had some jokes thrown in, or just one of our buddies. But I didn't know what to expect going into this, and I didn't realize I was going to be playing with or doing this podcast with two lives hanging in the balance and having to talk about still kicking over you just whipping out how do you feel about grunge music, like that was so goddamn random. So it's definitely been very interesting. It's been an experience for sure.
Well, anywho, I just hope you had a fun time with me because this is my first ever podcast doing stuff like this,
It's
and
definitely fun.
I'm I being put on the spot. I had a list of things I wanted to go over because I just like to know people and about their interests.
Okay, hit
So
me.
I decided to bring that up.
Yeah, hit me.
And a lot of that stuff I just wanted to try to make conversation, see if it flowed. And I thought, maybe a chill, casual conversation wouldn't be fun, but in the this would have been 3 hours that we've done this. I've really enjoyed my time, and I just wanted to say I really do thank you for putting me on here.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
really nice being your host, and I really hope that maybe in the future we can hop on. I can bring back my chaotic energy and maybe have less people in the basement this time.
I would
And
say a bit closer to the season or during the season we can definitely have you back on.
I'd love
Yeah,
to do that. I'd
yeah,
love to go over one of the games with you.
do something like that. Yeah, but before you go, I am curious. What were the questions you were gonna ask? The
Um, I only really had one other question, and it was
Okay,
about food.
hit me with it.
And
I want to hear it. Hit me with it.
as a fellow fat guy, which out of these three is better? Burger King, Wendy's, or McDonald's?
I love Wendy's. Nope, I love Wendy's, the restaurant, the food. That's what I like. I don't. I almost set myself up. I like their food a lot. The Baconator is one of my favorite burgers ever.
I'm a Burger King enjoyer, but that's just because they have a
Valid,
Bacon King.
valid.
The Bacon
Burger
King
King's
is better
underrated.
than the Baconator.
Ah,
Okay, no. But anywho, that's another discussion for another day.
okay.
Both I hear cop sirens outside, and both of actually your wife just escaped. Andrew's just staying down there and wallowing in his misery.
I didn't
But
know you knew his name. That was a first. I didn't know you knew his name.
well, anywho, the point is, it was a joy being on here. I have to go run from the cops. Mind if I shout out a couple people?
Go for it.
I'd like to shout out David Miller of the Ball Knowers podcast. I'd like to also shout out my my friends. I said this earlier, but Spencer, the Vikings fan. I'll be sending this to you. I'd also like to shout out my mom and stepfather. I know you guys are sleeping right now, and I know you put up with a lot of my crap, but honestly, this is the best fun I had in a while. And again, shout out to the Dumpster Fire Gang. Love you all, and I'll end this off with the final note. Don't kidnap people. It's illegal.
Well said. Well, I typically end these episodes with a question, so I guess I got to come up with one because he. Oh nope, he's back. Do you have a question that people can comment and answer to?
Oh, sure. The question I will have. Um, who is better, Weezer or the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
You're not
This
gonna
is a
like my
personal.
answer. You're not gonna like my answer.
Okay. I'm going to have to call the cops on someone else now. Goodbye, everyone. Weezer is better than Red Hot Chili Peppers. My stepfather is wrong, and y'all have a wonderful night, day, or whatever. Thank you for having me on, David. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome. All right, well, I guess that about wraps it up. He's back. Do you have something else to say?
No, I'm trolling you at this point. I'm trolling you. Hey, my experience as a Twitter troll came in handy.
Yeah, it's adopted to, or you've adapted it to a podcast. So
I love the chaotic energy. Either way, I'll leave it off to you. I won't mute this time.
I mean, okay. I suck at outros for these. I never have a real outro, but that's going to be it from us. I assume Andrew and I should have an episode out this week now that he's free from the dungeon or the garage or whatever the hell, the basement. And like I said earlier, videos coming next week. I believe Wednesday is when the first one should be out, which will be talking about the Vikings featuring the Geek Slays. Then that Friday, we'll have the Packers episode out. That's kind of how we're going to do these, is they're going to come out every other day. Scheduling this shit is a nightmare currently. If you're watching this and you're someone I've talked to that's coming on, just know we're getting there. We're trying. And if you're someone that's already scheduled to come on, I'm very excited to have you on. So yeah, now we're going to do something to make this exit less awkward, because I have to actually close out
I'll say this. Thank you all for joining the Bone Mowers podcast with Just David as Andrew is kidnapped. If you like this, please like it, because right now my life is in the hands of the cops. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful day again. David, I will gladly accept you as my first call from prison.
Okay. We're going to end this on a wonderful, wonderful image here. I hope he doesn't mind me leaking this photo. If he does, I'll edit it. But that's going to be